So, all right, so good morning, everybody. Just for the video's sake, I'm going to say that I'm Mary Ann Antonellis, the director of the Spear Library in Shutesbury, and it is September 30th, and we are touring the Leverett Library, which is about 20 years old, and we're here with Hannah, who's the new director here of the Leverett Library, and she's going to give us a tour and maybe say her last name.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
Hannah Paisel, and I'm the director here. I actually live in town, so I'm familiar with the building more than a month of being the director here. And I'm excited to show you around, and I'm excited for your new project. So please feel free to ask lots of questions. I don't really know, like, is it systems-based or like collection-y based? So we can talk about whatever suits your fancy.
Okay, great. Okay, all right, so we'll follow you.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do then is we'll talk about the big areas. So over here is our adult collection, and I don't know if it's worth walking through.
Mm-hmm.
So mostly what you're seeing is that we have shelving on both sides kind of set up in bays and with end caps on all of them. So there's benefits to this. You can kind of get a lot of shelf space in an area and also give some cozy spots and places for people to be able to look through sectioned off areas of materials. So that comes down all the way over here. We have some computers in the center here, and work tables and lots of cozy chairs at the end.
I'm going to stand next to you so that the mic picks up. Okay, all right, that's
lots
okay.
Lots of cozy chairs at the end.
Okay, we don't have to stand right next to each other. Okay.
So
all right.
We have a photocopier here that doesn't get as much use as maybe we would have liked, and the computers were heavily used before Leverett got high-speed internet. So they've become less of a draw than they were, and so we're kind of evaluating how many to keep out here and keep in good condition. So that's a consideration. We also have a lovely door going out this way, so this is one of our emergency exits. And it also goes out onto a patio. This door is kept locked. People can go out it, but they can't come in. So that allows us to have some awareness of who's in the building at any given time. So what questions do you have about this area?
Has the patio been used a lot, and for what types of activities?
So we have a very popular summertime, well, obviously COVID has affected things, but music on the patio. So there's a large number of musicians in this town, and there's usually a series that happens in the summertime, music on the patio on Thursday nights.
So with an audience?
With an audience, that's right. I have heard that we do have mosquitoes here. I've experienced that we have mosquitoes here. And so often that ends up it gets moved into the community room. But the friends have meetings out there. There's different crafts that have happened. I would say that when this tree matures, that might be good. It can be very hot on the patio.
So this is an eastern exposure? East?
This must be a southern exposure?
Okay.
Does that sound, I don't know.
Feels east,
Yeah.
Does it? Isn't the river there?
The sun's over here, so yeah, that would be south.
Well, I was thinking the river is going this way, the Connecticut. Anyway, we can take a look.
I'm facing east right now.
Okay.
Seems like
You guys
East
are
is
right.
up,
Wow.
according to the compass.
I have to recalibrate here. Yeah.
One other question. What is the total square footage of the building?
I don't have that at the top of my head. I just asked John. He also didn't have it at the top of his head. But I suspect we have the plans out there and a book of information.
Looking at
That
it.
It's
He can
8,000
replan.
and change.
Say?
What-
8,000 square feet.
No, it's not. It's
No.
about half that, actually. The Irving Library is 8,000 square feet, 8,300.
I'm
This
sorry.
is about 4,600.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was Marian's 20-year estimate correct?
So the plans over there were written in 2002, and the building was built 2003, 2004, in that range.
Doesn't seem like that.
Close,
I was here.
close. It's not 100% accurate, but it is close.
Time
Yeah.
flies.
Yes,
And
okay. Yeah.
You said this was an adult area.
Correct.
Do children and adults use these tables, and how is the quiet factor work out?
As many modern libraries, I would say that this is not a quiet library at any one time. There are times where it is quiet, but it is not a, everyone needs to be quiet kind of space. It's very open. So even you can hear children in the children's section over here because there's no doorway. That being said, most people understand that this is very much a community hub. So occasionally people need a little more quiet. The teen room does have a door. So depending if there are no teens here, that's an accessible place for people.
Do the tables get used a lot?
So that I'm less clear on because I'm new to this. But I would say that I see the tables in the kids' room used all the time. And I do see people working at the computers here. I think we've just had less people hanging out in the library. But I personally have used many tables in libraries. Like I think they're an important piece of furniture. So.
Sorry, but according to the long-range library plan, the square footage is 7,600.
It might be. They'll know from the plans. The design was 4,600. So we'll find out from the plan. The Leverett Library's long-range plan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll see. We're also going to measure the exterior of the building. So we'll know for sure.
Any other questions? Yes.
Not a question, but a comment. You can find that on the MDLC website.
Great. Welcome everybody who just come in. I'm Hannah Pacel. I'm the director here. And we're giving a tour. So this is the adult section. Happy to answer more questions if you think of them as we go. Maybe we can go over into the children's section now. Oh yeah.
Did the construction costs cover the stained glass?
I don't know. Those are hung on there.
Oh, they're hung?
Yeah, so they're not actually,
Oh,
yeah,
I see. Hung
they're on little
the-
hooks.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did someone in town make those?
I have to admit that I do not know. I'm too new to know everything. But I can find out if you're really interested. Feel free to shoot me an email and Sue will know the answer like that.
The sign of a great librarian.
When to say I don't know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say I'll find out for you.
Totally. All right, let's head down. We'll just kind of take a left-hand turn up here. Do you want me to be near your microphone?
Yes. Okay.
So this is kind of going into the area where we've organized all the children's books. You'll notice we have magazines over here, and we have those flippy display cases so we can put the additional magazines behind them. Apparently that they were not always installed, so this was something that was installed a little bit later. We have some newspapers and more adult things in the front here, so local history and community resources over there. Newspapers behind the woman with the lovely hat on. So that's kind of the more adulty stuff facing that way. We have a couple computers here for kids. I do occasionally see children on here, but not often. What else? Again, we're set up into bays. So we have some smaller lower bays here, which are nice because it gives us more display space, which we're not currently taking full advantage of. So we have our children's nonfiction, and then it goes into the picture books further down and kind of starts to follow around by age category. So we have our board books near at the end, and then we have kits for early learning. We can walk down.
You better go with her.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. We should have put the mic on her. So,
Okay.
Okay.
So we have, some spaces here. We've kind of rearranged things. We typically have a lot of toys set up in this area, but for COVID, we're not encouraging folks to hang out with their children for a long time. Hopefully people won't be too sad. They've come and gone a few times. We have a parenting section, our easy readers, and then right into fiction. The fiction goes to, audiobooks, movies, and graphic novels. And we're lucky to have a bunch of kits here that are very popular as well. So that's kind of basically how we have this set up. We have a big wide space in the middle of both of these areas that leaves flexibility. So as needs change, as you want to rearrange furniture, there is some room. Everything in the middle area can be moved completely. So actually this space was used for a large meeting for, which was it?
Legislative breakfast.
The legislative
a couple of
breakfast
times.
was here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything could be moved out. You could have a podium up here. There was seating this way. It makes the space very flexible, even though it's pretty small, that you can fit a lot of, okay, not pretty small. You guys have a small library. But it's very flexible, is what I mean by that.
Yeah.
You can fit quite a few people in here, and they can hear well.
Mhm.
So what questions do you have here? Yes?
Another emergency exit?
Another emergency exit. Same deal. It goes out onto the patio, and you can go out, but you can't come back in. Any other questions? Yeah.
Personally, I like this way more than the Irving Library. So I was curious, if you look at the two libraries, do you see things in Irving that you would prefer to have here? Or do you see advantages of this building over Irving? How do you compare the two?
And I have to admit I haven't been to Irving. But that being said, I did hear they have 2 community rooms, a smaller meeting room and a larger one. I could see some potential value in something like that. You know, I have worked in libraries that they have study rooms available to people, and that's been really nice, especially for a library that is so open like this for people who need to have a quieter workspace or tutoring or something like that. But otherwise, I don't know. Are there main features there that you're thinking of that are really different from here?
That's more of a gut feeling. This just feels like a library to me. The Irving Library did not feel that way. That's just personal. But when people come to the library, do you find that they're asking for anything in particular that you don't have and you wish you had, or
In terms of the building space, or?
anything? Just kind of what are the wants that you kind of?
So in the 3 weeks I've been here.
No.
Nothing's leaping to mind. Let it stew in the back of my head and see if something comes up.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure, of course. Have you been to the new Hadley Library? Has anybody here? That's an interesting library. They're obviously a much larger town, brand new building. Have you been?
Mm-mm.
I went with my son, he's a teenager, so we were able to go in the teens room and kind of think about it that way. It has very tall ceilings and very tall windows, so it's very bright, but it's much more echoey for that. And for me, feels a little colder and a little, like, I would feel nervous speaking, you know, my mind in some of those places, because even though here it's kind of like, you know, people are hearing everything, it just echoes there a little bit more. So it really depends on, like, they're seeing a lot more people there than we do in our smaller towns, so that could add to the effect. They just have really different feelings to them. So here you can see, like, our ceiling's a little lower. In the adult room, it's a little bit higher than it is here. That's like a design choice. And I'm sure it has something to do with noise as well. So, and probably these smaller bays up here, I suspect, have a similar effect. So, I don't know. You know, that's just being another library I've gone to recently. Their children's space has doors, just like Sunderland's does. So, you know, there's benefits to that too if you're doing a lot of programming. Did I see another?
Well, there is big difference with the acoustic tiles here versus the hard surface
Yep.
in the Irving
Okay.
Library.
Hmm.
Where is the Hadley Library?
So it's the Goodwin Library. It's right on, like, if you go on Route 9 and then you turn right onto 47,
Oh, okay.
it's just behind where the old library was. So the old library's on that corner. It's a bigger building right behind it. Yes.
How's your carpeting held up?
Well, in the last 3 weeks, it seems okay to me. It's, you know, it is vacuumed frequently. He does take good care of that. And I don't know any specific problems with it. Again, if you want specific answers, I'm happy to follow up and let you know.
What's the population here?
We are, I think, just under 1,900.
carpet is, you could take up a section and replace it, looks like. Are they tiles or is that?
Good question.
Not the tiles.
There's a theme.
I know, I'm kind of looking too.
The one on the
We use carpet tiles for all of our projects now at the library so that we can get rid of stains.
Carpet tile.
Yeah,
And it makes it a lot more manageable, so you don't have to do a whole section.
right,
But
right.
this is the original carpeting, don't you think?
I'm not sure, I'm sure it is.
I
It hasn't been
suspect it
around long
is.
enough to change the carpet.
Yeah,
20 years.
my guess is the same, yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Let us go through the community room and then we'll come back around to the front area. Get some lights.
I could spend all day here.
Me too, isn't it nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We turn off the lights. So this is our community room. It does get heavily used when we're open. There are library-sponsored programs that happen here, but also community speakers, friends of the library will have speakers come in, and you can fit a lot of people in here.
What's
So-
the limit?
You're asking me all the real questions. I think, I don't know what the limit is.
Might say somewhere.
Yes,
And the square footage?
again, I'm not sure.
So this is completely, can be completely independent from the rest of the library?
Yes,
You still have
yes.
access to bathrooms?
Yes, so you'll see that as you come out, this door can be locked, and then people can come in from the outside doors, have access to 2 bathrooms, places to hang up their jackets, and then come right into the community room. This I've seen as a trend in a lot of libraries, that buildings are set up this way. You'll see there's like a small kitchenette behind you there, so there's a sink, there's a tiny little refrigerator. So if people are serving snacks, it's easy to clean up. That kind of thing is helpful. You'll notice, and you'll see more of this in the back as well, that there is a fair amount of storage behind you here. This is all cupboard storage. So one thing that I've noticed is a lack of storage for larger items. So when we take toys out of the kids' room for COVID, luckily we're also not having meetings, so it can come in here. But typically there isn't, the space is very defined for storage. It works for certain kinds of things and not for other kinds of things. We have an emergency exit going right outside here. And I can also show you our storage space because these are the only large things we do have storage space for, which are tables and chairs. We're upgraded to these chairs that are a little more comfortable, and so we may at some point look to rehome these other ones.
Did you come up with a gross square footage?
Well, I have almost.
Okay.
I need a calculator.
Okay, all right, okay. Mine's in the car. Okay, okay.
UK or how long does it stay?
Yes, these are good questions. So in terms of the art exhibits, we have a system set up here that people can easily take and put down their art. And so we have an application. If people want to display their artwork, they apply. And it's mostly because we have a lot of artists in the community. So we're keeping a list. They understand exactly the specifications here and what they can do, how they need to be responsible for it themselves. And then they can just quickly hang things up, and we have a schedule. I think it's usually 6 weeks. Don't quote me on that. He's quoting me. But obviously COVID has disrupted that. So this
Sure.
exhibit has been up and nobody has really seen it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And this is projection?
Yes. So this room has both a projector and a screen and a very nice sound system. I haven't learned how to use them yet, but I'm sure I will. So this is something, and I understand it works really well. So it makes this a very professional space and a flexible space. can easily be cleaned if you're going to have a messy program for families or adults doing artwork. But it also can get set up into a nice lecture style where people can easily see what's going on. And I see from the door that we have some assistive technology to help people who might be hard of hearing as well. And that's part of this system, I believe.
I noticed that you have receptacles in the floor.
Yes, yes. So those are, you'll notice them in all of the spaces that we've been in so far. And what these are is they have plugs for people. And I understand as well that they also allow people to plug right into the internet from there as well. So I don't think they're heavily used, but they are a possibility.
You have a small kitchen set up over here. Do you prefer it in the common space, or would you like it outside somewhere else?
It's a good question. Having not used it in a programming setting, I wouldn't know for sure, but having worked in many libraries, I think it's great. You know, unless you're like preparing an actual meal for people, it's nice to be able to just use a sink easily. I worked in one library where there was a big meeting room and a smaller, it wasn't really a kitchen area, but just like this had like a sink and a little tiny area and a counter. And that was behind a door, and that can be nice, right, if you need to do something while you're having a speaker, so you're not getting any noise. So, you know, pros and cons, in terms of our space and the way it's typically used, I don't know for sure, but I would say it's probably okay.
When they had playgroups here, this was a really great room for kids to get messy, and then they could go and wash their hands right after, so this was a really great space.
That's a good point.
Kids.
Yeah. Any other questions here? We were able to get dollies for the chairs, and for these new chairs, our Friends group has recently purchased us dollies for those as well. So that's been that is very helpful. To be able to move things without anybody hurting themselves is key. All right.
Are most of the people that use the library from the town, or do you get people from outside the town that come?
I would say the majority of people are from the town, but we certainly get library tourism here. Like most, we've gone to Shutesbury. You've got a great collection of manga. My son's very pro. So yeah, I would say most people probably are. We don't ask that question.
You don't, okay.
But I would say in general that you're always going to see some families from certainly the most close surrounding communities, and then sometimes slightly further afield.
No visas required.
No visas required. We're open to all. Yeah. So like we had a family from Deerfield the other day, for example. Yeah.
Your windows all open? Do you actually open them?
It's a good question. I kind of want to open them more, especially nowadays. I haven't done a lot of that. I know the last director did in early days of COVID. So you'll notice that most have screens, but not all of them. So I would opt for the ones with screens. Of course, you know, energy efficiency is a question there, so I don't know.
Humidity, I would imagine, for both.
So, right, for long term. For short term, I don't think it's too bad, but for a long term, it wouldn't be ideal. Do you guys want to talk about the energy of this building while we have a little space here? So this building was built with geothermal energy for heating and cooling. There's a large array kind of under the field over here where all of that material the liquid is pumped in and out in order to heat and cool this building. It has not been ideal. So you asked what things maybe weren't so great. That is one of them. Our backup energy is electricity. So as you know, that can be very expensive. So there is a hope of getting a solar array to be the backup energy source for this building, but that is in the works.
So did the geothermal not work up to its projections, or was it just?
So I'm going to be able to talk kind of generally about this and less specifically. It has had a series of problems in the time that it's been here. One of those could come from the fact that it was probably overbuilt to begin with, perhaps one too many compressors. So all that's up above our head here. You might have noticed that we have these really steep roofs. So there's a lot, that's where all that machinery is up there. So essentially it's just meant that this building has relied on electric power not always, but sporadically, and it ends up being relatively expensive.
What year was this building built again?
2003-ish?
Yeah, so I think also the technology has changed dramatically since then. Like geothermal was a lot better, like 20 years ago, it just was
Right.
not great.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What's the square footage of the library?
That is in contention
Yeah, that's in
at the moment.
contention and we're figuring it out. Yes, yeah. So Stephen and Glenn took measurements and wrote it all down and I don't see Stephen now, so maybe he went to get a calculator or, no?
Needs to work out the square footage.
Oh, okay.
Dimensions.
Yes, all right. He's,
It's in the ARIS report.
yeah, but there are different, different people say different things, so,
It's
yeah.
on the NDLC website too, it says
Yeah.
gross square footage of the whole building as well as each of the rooms. NDLC's website.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna go into the entryway again. Are there questions here? Well, the square footage, we'll just make sure that it's buttoned down and everyone will get the same answer and everyone will feel good about that answer, yes.
This question's actually to Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Looking at the Irving Library and this library, how do you compare them? What do you see that you like in this library? What do you see that you don't like? I'd kind of like to hear what's in your head about the two buildings we've seen so far.
So I like the cozier feel of this library. I don't like the carpeting in either library because I'm concerned about people with allergies. I want everybody to be able to use the library. That's the whole point of making a new library. And carpeting will prevent some people from feeling healthy in a library.
How about the layout of the rooms? Just
I like the layout. I like the sort of L-shaped layout out there. I feel like you have really good sight lines from the circulation desk.
Yes.
I feel like this room is really removed from the library. And so, where if that were a double door, it would be more accessible. If that were a double door over there, it might be more accessible. I like that there is storage. But I think you probably wish you had more storage. But it's, I think, and then I like that the ceilings aren't as high. So that just felt very large. And I think about even if all of your heating and cooling is coming from solar, you're still working your systems to heat and cool that large area. I like that the windows open here. The windows are not operable in Irving. So I think, and then it's, so that's just sort of my initial things. This feels a little cozier, a little bit more contained. It would feel safe to run with one person. Irving is much larger, and it wouldn't be safe to have just one staff person there. And the plan is not to have just one staff person there.
You're right, this feels cozy. Irving feels institutional.
Yes.
Is there anything other than storage that you look around and you kind of wish that this library might have?
A small study room. Yeah.
I have one more question about this room. Again, you haven't been, so the library in Irving, you could enter the community space and not enter the library.
Correct. That's the
And
same
that's
here.
not, is that the same here?
Mhm.
Yes.
You can
Yeah.
block that off?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, through the front door here. We'll go out through that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just imagine this door locked, and then when we go out, I'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there was a door that way. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People come in that way.
Yeah, but it's nice to have access to the bathrooms and the water fountain, and just to feel, a place to hang your jacket and feel like you're really here.
Do people hang their jacket out there?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So it's.
I mean,
the last 3 weeks.
yeah.
Yes.
It's been nice weather.
Yes.
Not many jackets.
Yes. Yeah.
You did have a question for me about staffing.
Yes, yeah.
So in terms of our staffing, we've actually changed it recently so
Mhm.
that we don't allow one person to work alone. And that means, so there's been a number of changes to allow that to happen. And that's still a safety issue. You know, we're open till 8 o'clock at night. It can feel a little lonely here. And yeah, you know, the police department's nearby, like everybody's nearby, but so just for safety as well as some redundancy if people get sick or they need to stop and use the bathroom or, you know, like, so we've changed that. My job used to be a full-time job. It's now a part-time job. We are at what we call full-time equivalency of, well, it depends how you do the math. So you can either use 35 hours a week as your base or 40, somewhere between 1.2 and 1.4 FTE, full-time equivalent. So that's where we're at right now. We're open 20 hours a week, or we will be. That's the goal. I think we're close to that right now. So
How many days a week?
We are open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. So, and then you also asked about our budget. Do you want that number now too, or?
No, that's
Okay.
fine, yeah,
Cool.
okay, yes,
All right.
okay, good.
So
All
I
right,
can come back and close things up. Don't worry.
okay.
Any other questions?
No?
We can kind of
No.
zip through here.
I love the dollies. Yeah,
Rough calculation, gross square footage, 45.
yeah, 4,500 square feet, gross square footage, yeah,
It's on the MDLC website.
yeah, yeah.
So this space here has the double doors on the left. For those of you who can't see, you'll see in a moment that those can be locked. So if the library is closed, we just lock those doors. If there's a program, these doors can be left open. There's access to the 2 bathrooms, water fountain, a bench out here, and of course the meeting room. So that's very nice. Off of this hallway that you just came through, there's 2 mechanical room doors, so that is not storage. When I first came through, I was like, ooh, it's not storage. So one room has, you know, all the stuff for our geothermal, as well as a small, like one of those floor sinks for the janitor to use, some of the equipment for, you know, all his tools and stuff. The other room has more to do with, you know, our routers for internet and the lighting system outside. There's on timers, those kind of things. Oh, we have doors that automatically open and close. So behind the woman in blue, you match them very nicely. So that's a nice feature to make sure that this is really accessible. That's one of the real benefits, yeah.
Oh, right.
This room over here, I'm happy to unlock it. It's really too small for us to see as a group, but anybody who would like to see it, that's where our book drops get emptied into. There's also some like shelf storage. It's a very narrow room, and then a cupboard for the janitor to keep some of his supplies.
Is it fireproof, that room?
I don't know. I can find out. Again, like if there's resounding questions, email them to me. I'll be happy to get you the real answers.
Not a question, a comment. I love the bookcase showing the governors.
Isn't that fun?
That is
really
fabulous.
nice.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, they did a really good job here.
I have a question about bathroom access.
Yes.
So some libraries put a bathroom in a children's room.
Right.
Do you feel that these are too far from your children's room?
Let's see. I've never thought much about that. I have experienced it being okay. So when my kids were little, we had a library with a bathroom right in the children's room that did not lock for reasons, right? So kids can't lock themselves in. That's a good reason. But as a parent with a kid, it was a little uncomfortable. So I think this balance is okay. But it's true, I have seen like a parent with 2 children, one is in the kids' room, the other needs to use the bathroom, and you know they have to take one kid at a time. So that can be awkward. I don't know. I think you just have to decide what's important to you and your community.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
We always thought it was great to be able to come in here, wash hands, visit the bathroom before going into the playroom.
You definitely need to have something that's near the community room.
Yes.
Have something right.
Right, right. I mean, it's not I mean,
Not long,
you know,
yeah.
this is such an efficient space.
Right.
So that was a question you asked, Tim. Like, I really feel like the design here is very efficient. You know, if children are playing in the meeting room, the bathrooms are right out here.
Right.
If children are in the children's room, the bathrooms are right out here. So,
But you're right,
Yeah.
either way, there are heavy doors that
Right.
they have to go through.
Yes.
So
yeah,
But these
Mhm.
are also have a button for them?
they do have a button.
right.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So Marianne, if the community room were on this side, like closer to the, circulation desk, would you feel like it was more integrated into the library space?
You know, I just feel like it's kind of closed off because of the doorways, you know, and then there's there's this whole, the bathroom, and then here that kind of closes it off. But I mean, it's hard to, you know, like we can wish all we want, and then there's going to be the reality of putting the pieces together, but if that were a double wide door on that other side, it would make it more open to more welcoming over there. So, like, I suspect there's a lot of entry from that side some of the
I could
time.
see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine a double wide door with big windows like
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
even if it's closed, that's fine.
Right.
The building is closed.
Yes.
It would be very nice.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
take up some of your shelf space.
Right.
So there you'd
Right.
lose some real estate, and no one would want to sit in front of that door to look at books necessarily.
Right.
It would feel
Right.
unsafe.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Did
it's
you have a question?
This is a building question, I'm curious, you have an AED, are all the librarians CPR certified?
This is a great question. So I walk in here and I'm like, what is this? And she's like, I don't know what this is. So I actually, the police officer stopped by and wanted to make sure he had a key and he knew my number. And I was like, what is this? So we're not CPR certified. And I do have a question into the fire department as well. So essentially what this is it's a time-saving device if there was a problem. So if someone's having a problem, the police officer, like Scott just mentioned to me, like, even if you put the things where they're supposed to be, you saved us a minute and a half, and we can show up and make sure it's right and do the thing. So we're going to get trained in that. We're going to make sure it's a newer one, so it should be,
I got trained on one like a million years ago, and it was like foolproof. It was like walk you through like with every step of the way, and I think it like talked to you or something. It was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a teacher and all the teachers were trained, you had no medical, math could be your thing, but it's very easy,
Great.
so don't worry.
Yeah, no, I'm not
And if
super
it
worried,
works,
yeah.
yeah, and you can't
I
hurt
mean, if
somebody.
you need it, it's,
You have it. Yeah, absolutely.
It can only make people better, it can't make them worse, is my understanding too.
I hope so, yeah. But, he said even if, like, Sue was like, I don't know if I want that responsibility, I was like, well, even if that's the case, anything we do saves them time. So, however much or however little we do.
Well, with our distance from medical help in the hill towns, it's.
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move into the other room.
How much janitor time do you have?
Good question.
So, our janitor works between all the town buildings save the school. And he divides his time between town hall, the library, and the fire police department. He spends on average about 3.5 hours a week here.
Okay.
Oh, that's not much.
Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Okay.
And then, they have people come in, they had someone do all the windows recently. So there's other people who come in for bigger projects,
Mhm.
but he he cleans the bathrooms, he empties the garbage and the recycling, he vacuums everything, he, keeps things
Okay.
looking good.
Alrighty. Okay.
Is that enough for the library?
So the last 3.5 weeks has been great.
With current, with your current numbers, it probably is.
Yeah. And I will say, I've come into these bathrooms at the end of the day and been like, what? Like, what? And it looks beautiful in the morning, so I guess he's doing a good job. All right, let's head on.
Okay.
What is going on there?
All right. I don't know how. I think I'll talk about about this space a little bit, and then you guys can go back and take a look through. I don't know if maybe the filming wants to be back here, or how much you care about the details of this part.
It's fine. You talk about it, he'll get it. You decide where you want to be. You're the professional. Yeah, okay. Okay.
All right, so this is our circulation desk. We have some shelving underneath it for all the holds, which is great. You just maintain some patron privacy that way. Normally, there used to be 2 bins for returns, and what we used to do is take them from that front room, lock the return bins while we were open, and move them under here. We decided we didn't want to do that during COVID because a lot of folks don't want to come in to make returns. So at this point, I'm thinking it would make sense to get another bin here. People are leaving them up on the desk, which is fine, but also an opportunity for mistakes and confusion. So,
Can I ask, are these for curbside pickups?
Yeah, there's a bunch of bags under there
Okay,
right now.
yes. Take a picture of this, Nate, because at our library, I have to hold them in my lap all the time. So, yeah. It's nice that there's a space.
It is nice.
Yes.
It definitely
Okay,
is.
yes, okay.
So we have a few carts here that are used. We have, this one is for some flow over holds. We have a couple patrons that order a lot of books, so it's easier to put them there. Reshelving cart and other carts that we use in our process. Underneath this counter that you cannot see, there's drawers, very nice big drawers. I can say this is awesome. I've worked in many libraries. This is so cool. So they're all along here, and that's really great. It lets us have what we need while we still have a nice clear space for our patrons. There's a printer on a slightly lower counter on the left-hand side here. That's one that is attached to the public computer, so folks can print to that and come and pick up their printed goods. What questions?
Is this enough space for circulation?
So they were just using, there's 2 shelves under here for holds. They were just using that. It really wasn't enough space. There is another shelf over here that we kind of pulled forward and got that going. People do come to pick up their holds pretty quickly, so mostly it flows in and out pretty fast, but we definitely need all 4 of these.
Okay, yeah.
Do your kids check out at the high end, or do they go over to the low end, or?
I mostly see families, everybody coming to this spot here. Yeah. Any other questions?
What's up with the black velvet Elvis?
No, I don't know. It's so funny. John and Will were here this morning. Goes, oh, Elvis, that was funny, and I should have been like, tell me. And I don't. This is going to be the saddest moment of my YouTube life.
Yeah. So I have a memory. Okay. So it's a memory from a long time ago. It may be completely fictitious. I will tell you that now. So my memory is that it was a silent auction item when they were fundraising during the capital campaign to build the library, and then it got gifted to the library, and that it is a loved artifact that the town of Leverett treasures. Yeah. Cherishes.
Every resident, including me.
Yes. So I don't have any memory of actually seeing it before. So thank you. In my mind, it was much bigger.
And I believe the cat is very important as well.
Yes.
I think those are things that must always be here.
Yeah.
Also an Elvis on the thank you bookshelf outside.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
I was just gonna point that out, Elvis is in the lobby.
All right.
What are these?
Yeah, so let's talk about some of these special items. So we have like reserves here there's a couple of book clubs in town that run independently, and they just tell us what books they need. We grab those for them. This, isn't ideal, but we're working it out. We're finding where things go. last year, Misha, who was the director here, got a grant to make these curiosity kits. So there's a whole bunch of them. This is a knitting curiosity kit. There's an origami one, and they have supplies so that you can just take it and learn a thing, and we will, replenish those supplies. So yeah, right now they're here. That's not a great display area. I've been dreaming a lot about how to deal with that. I'm thinking little laminated cards, because we have actually a fair number of kits here that are at the front desk. Like, here are all the kits available. And they could still be out so people could browse, but it might be easier to get excited and understand what we have.
I just asked a question on a library director listserv asking that same thing. So how do you display your library of things, right?
I saw that, right.
And I'll compile the results and I'll send them to you because there were a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, most libraries I've worked at actually haven't prioritized having a library of things. So this is sort of new territory for me as well.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we do have a few. We have a few in here. There's some specialty items to check out that, again, I think we need to make sure people know. We have an air quality monitor that people can check out.
A kilowatt.
Yeah, a kilowatt. So these are kind of useful things that you wouldn't want to buy your own, but you might want to use it every now and again. And I think, and they're small. So that's the kind of thing that could be useful for a library to provide to its community.
And is your library of things available for people who don't live in Leverett, or is it only for your residents?
Good question. This has a barcode, so I'm guessing it's available to everybody. I don't know. I can find out. I mean, I would let it go to anybody, right? We know how to find you. You're in our system. We could get it back from you. That's the goal. We want.
A lot of libraries have their library of things are available to be picked up at the library and not sent through interlibrary loan, but available to be lent to other communities.
Right.
And that's true. We would ask that these things wouldn't go through delivery. So
You'd have to come and get them.
yeah, so things like museum passes, these kind of kits, they're not really suited to going through delivery. They're easily lost or broken. So that's certainly a contingency.
And it's unusual for things to be limited to a local library. So, it's not unheard of. Like in Shutesbury, we loan kayaks and we limit those to Shutesbury residents for the most part. But it's part of our sort of regional lending agreement that our collections are available to anyone in the state of Massachusetts, really.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah.
We have kilowatts. The air quality monitor, I think, is a great thing. So, we have kilowatts. Yeah, and I actually wrote a grant yesterday to create some little kits. So I have to get the grant. But right. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not. I'll put them somewhere. Hang them from the ceiling.
Yes. Kitchen rack.
Yes. But and these are kits for kids. So yeah.
I don't know how many people noticed the rocking chair, but
Here are your drawings.
there are a couple of thumbs up for the rocking chair.
Okay.
Well, Irving had a glider
Yeah.
in the children's area. That was
Okay.
what I found it for a while. It was very
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's a beautiful rocking chair.
Yeah, it is.
Right, I have a glider.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yes.
I don't need it.
Yes. Yeah. Good. Yes. That could be an in-kind donation. Yes. Okay. Yeah. We figure that out. There's a lot of steps that have to happen. Okay.
What other questions do we have?
Did you guys talk about the young adult room before I got here?
No, that's
No.
going to do that right now. So again, pretty small. Once we're done in this area, if you guys want to walk behind here and also go back there, this is our young adult room. It is, there's a computer, there's a table, there's a cozy chair, and there's some problems with feng shui in there. So it is not super inviting, and I have some ideas about that.
Did you measure it?
Yeah.
And can you tell me the square footage?
Well, let's see, it's 10, 6 by 11, so it's a little over 100.
Okay, thank you. All right, okay.
Another feature it has is, there's a nice window here, so it feels a little more spacious. It also reminds people that they're in a public space, even though they're given the privilege of some privacy. You should know I'm a teen librarian, so that's where I come from. So I'm like, whatever, kids are great. And then from this other side, from where our office space is, there's another window going into that space. It definitely makes it feel less claustrophobic to be that way.
Yes.
But we
Yeah.
also lose some wall space for decorations or something like that.
Right.
One
Or
of-
bulletin board, you know.
Yeah,
right.
right. There are some things in
Right.
there.
Yeah.
One thing that is a little odd is the way the shelving is, you know, everything is very attached to the walls, which is totally great, but the shelf on the right-hand side kind of cuts off part of the shelf against the back wall. So it's easy for books to get lost back there. It's easiest for us to say, oh, we still have room, we don't have to get weed yet, and of course we really do. So that's just, you know, that happens in a lot of places, but it's, in the long term, it cannot be ideal.
So, and I know you probably don't have a sense of this yet, but I'm wondering about the location being so close to like your staff space as far as like comfort level of teens hanging out in there.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of teens hanging out in there.
Well, in the last 3 weeks, I wouldn't expect you to.
No, but you know, I have teenagers and we've come here and they like to go in there. They like the idea that there is a space for them, but I wouldn't say that they hang out. So my current thinking, the possibility there is that I'll actually take the computer out and that big table that takes up a lot of real estate and put in another cozy chair and maybe a small table with a laptop. So like there's still computer access, but it's a little cozier, you have a little more ownership over the space, and it's more flexible. And that's something we're going to talk about back here, is some of the ways that building was designed is wonderful, but it also is less flexible than it could be. So, questions about the teen space?
Does that door ever get closed?
It can be closed, and I assume that it does. I know I've heard there are patrons who need it to be quieter, that they would go in there. So, yes. Any other questions? Teens are awesome. They need a space.
Thank you.
It's used by non-teens as well.
Yes, although honestly, I don't, you know, in the time I've been here, even like as a patron,
Yeah.
I've mostly only seen teens in there, if anybody. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm a big advocate for teens having a space that feels safe to them. Yeah.
Would you recommend a larger space if you could?
I think it's about the flexibility of the space. So in here, I'm like, how to make it feel more inviting. Doesn't feel very inviting right now.
Well, I was thinking too, if it wasn't like that you had to walk by here to get into it, it might feel more inviting.
Yes, that's a possibility. I think that's actually a good point. I'm not really sure
Because
what
it
would.
feels like you're, like, can just be, like, I think you definitely need to have the sight lines and have it be like,
Yeah.
you don't actually have complete privacy, but this feels like,
Yeah, like almost like what if it was, I mean, it wouldn't work in this building the way it's set up, but what if it was like across a big hallway from the main desk? Like, you know, everyone sees you go in there. Hadley has, you know, instead of walls like this, everything is windows. So that opens up sight lines right away, reduces some coziness factor, privacy factors, but there are, you know, pros and cons to everything.
Definitely feels like a detention room.
Oh no, I don't want that. I'm thinking like a nice light to kind of make a cozy spot, even if you use the upper lights
a
and
lava lamp, a disco light.
yeah, right. So in Hadley they have a record player that hooks up to a Bluetooth speaker, and they can close the door and they can like well that's kind of cool. Like that's not something everyone would have at home, which is one of the benefits of a library. You can provide some experiences that are more expensive or unique. So,
Do adults feel comfortable going in there and searching the collection?
I have seen adults searching the
Okay.
collection. Yeah.
All right.
I know it's a funny balance between
Right.
respecting that it really is a teen space
Right.
and respecting that the collection should still be available for everybody.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I haven't seen any problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
But at like Sunderland, they have a sign on their teen door, they did a few years ago, that's like, this is a teen space. If you want to come in and browse, please do so quickly and leave. If there's kids here, better to wait, you know, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So libraries
Right.
deal with it in different ways.
Right, right. In our description, I had the collection of the young adults area being on the exterior of the room because well, because I'm a YA reader,
Me
and,
too.
and a lot of adults are YA readers, and so the collection should be available to them. So, but again, you know, when we're talking about a relatively small building and all the different building blocks that you want put in, there will be trade-offs.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, I think we've
Yeah.
answered everyone's questions.
Okay.
Okay. So feel free to peek in that room, come back here. I would say the setup, it does a good job for patron privacy issues. You know, sometimes we have patrons who need to see what we're showing them. Before we had these, you could kind of just turn the screen for them. But even here, you know, someone can stand here and kind of look. So I appreciate that as well. Oh, sorry, that's me. That just means someone's at the front door.
Yes.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you rang the bell.
I'm glad I rang the bell too.
Thank you so much. We're doing a tour for the Shutesbury residents who are working on their own new library.
They're still working on it.
Oh, look, there's like a little staff break space.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
cute little building, I'm just like.
Yeah.
Totally agree with your comment about the tension.
Yeah.
It's not very welcoming.
No, and it's tiny.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, I was thinking, Erin used to, and her friends always went to the drones after school.
Yeah.
She was in middle school.
Yeah, Rachel and Eduardo did too. Yeah.
It's a place to hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I heard a lot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot
So,
about that, but
yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
All right. So this is our workspace. It's great. It has a couple of really great features. Our circulation assistant has a desk right in front of that window, so she can keep an eye on the front desk. Until recently, we did have employees working alone, so that was nice. She could come back here and do other things and then be aware of patrons as they needed her. A couple of really nice features is these carts over here with the bins on them. These roll. I've worked at libraries that never have a good solution for all the delivery bins. So these roll.
Yes.
You can see that we have a couple bins underneath, so we can hide our empty bins that we don't want them to take. We have two of these, so think of two of these going on. And then we can put our full bins on top, wheel them over to that front door, and the delivery folks will just take them off and replace them. So it makes it not hard on our bodies, and it keeps things really organized, which is very nice.
Were those like off the shelf? Or
No,
did you-
no. Somebody made one. It was so great. Someone made us another. Yeah. Do you guys do a few more people want to try to fit in? Whatever you're comfortable with. We have a sink and a small refrigerator over here and a microwave and a teapot. So that's nice. You know, we don't have to go in the community room for some of those services. Water, right? Water is great.
They always like to just point out how they have running water.
Oh,
Yes,
no,
just
listen,
rub it in. Yeah.
I just worked in
Yeah.
Hatfield. Have you been in Hatfield?
They have water, don't they?
They
Yeah.
have water.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
like the tiny little sink, and it was cold water, and you had to hold it on.
Isn't
Yeah.
it like in the corner or something?
It was like down this little tiny hallway. Anyway, it did get replaced. There's a better situation, but I feel for you. I was only like tiny step up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, an enormous step up.
Yeah.
This is a really great feature. So this is a taller desk that's designed for all of our cataloging and processing things that we do here. So we have, book covers, all the stickers we use for processing.
Oh my
our
God,
books.
look at that.
No, I mean,
Nate, will you get this thing for the labels on video?
We should just bought that. So
Oh
that's
my
like a
God,
thing.
that is just gorgeous.
They have like
Yeah.
a wrapping paper ribbon or whatever.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
something like
yes,
that, yeah,
yeah, it's
exactly.
gorgeous. Yeah, again, because I keep those in my lap.
Right.
So, yeah, so,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
And some,
Okay.
great drawers here as well, so
Mhm.
we can keep these supplies going
Yeah.
and organized. Behind over here, there's more storage, which is great. Again, it's designed for specific size items and types of items, which we need, absolutely. So I can show you the kind of things that are in here. We have another cart. It's always a little bit of a cart shuffle around here. I'm going to open this right in your face, I'm sorry. So, in here, it's more of that processing materials and other types of materials. And it looks to me, yeah, so these shelves could have a varied height if you needed to, so you could modify that. And I think they're all kind of similar. So in here we have the letters for our sign outside that are magnetic. We keep those organized in here. Plexiglass signs for our countertops, things like that. Pencils and art supplies, craft supplies, those are all kept in here. So there's a back counter here that is built in. So everything you've seen so far is built in this space. There's great things about that. There's some not great things about that. So it is it's really a good height. We can keep we can move our files in and out and keep supplies under there, but it's not flexible. We can't move any furniture. What you see is what you get. 20 years later, does it still work? So that's and mostly this I think is all fine. My office is the same. So there's a built-in desk that kind of makes an L shape that keeps my back to everything out here. And it would be really nice if I could change that, move it, based on my whim and whimsy. So that's a challenge. And so there's great things. It's a good height, it's a nice space, it's a good color, it's all the good things, except it's not movable. So those are the main things back here. I of course invite you to tour around, but yes.
The height of this works for a range of staff, I assume?
So I think we're all relatively similar-ish height here.
It's the hiring criteria.
Right?
How are you?
You have to be 5'3" to 5'7".
That's a good range.
Well, the benefit is our cataloger has been the same person for the last 15 years, and it works for her. So far, so good. But that's a good point. What if
I mean, you do have different heights here, so
Yeah.
if this didn't work, you could use a different
Right.
space, but.
Right, but again, that's one of those inflexibility things. It's so nice, but it's a little bit prescriptive. Yes?
Do you spend much time in the director's office since you're often doing circ stuff?
So I'm struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I do, it's easier to keep organized there, and right now I'm having a computer thing where it needs to be plugged into the printer to use, and the printer's out here. I honestly prefer to be out here.
Yeah.
I like being a part of what's going on. I don't need to be a part of it, but I like to know what's going on and be able to be a part of the conversation. So I'm trying to figure out ways to set up a workspace for myself out here where my back, if I use that space, my back is, anyway. It's a work in progress. Yeah.
Could you request funds to, take that out and put something where you're facing this way? I mean, would that be something you could request in the budget?
I don't know. I'm willing to just kind of go. I'm new enough that I'm just going to see what I can work with here first. There might be some solutions that, you're just hearing what I'm thinking 3 or 4 weeks in as I'm setting up my workspace.
Even if you were facing out, you're still tucked way far away.
Right. So that's it. So it has a door. That's great. That means if I'm in a meeting with the MBLC, I can close the door. If I'm doing a training, I can close the door. If, a patron comes in who's really distraught and needs to have a conversation, I can close the door. These are good things. It's a little too tucked away for me. So not only is it in that back corner and the door is facing this way, but it's actually pushed back, right? So you see that this wall is pushed back to go in there. So it feels even auditorily a little bit far away. So, every director has their own idea. Some people have enough staff that they kind of like that, you know, it lets them really focus on what they're doing. And I work some days when we're closed to the public, and I do usually sit back there and work that way. And it's nice because then I can close the door and I don't have to heat the whole place, and it's fine. So, again, pros and cons.
It's got its,
This is
well,
a little
different
bit
subject, but I noticed that you have, shades, blinds in here, but, none of the other windows would.
I did notice the blinds. I've never made the connection. That's good.
Weren't there some in the community room?
Yeah, there were. There may be in the community room, but none of the
Not
other
in the big
ones.
room.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that.
That's an interesting question. I don't know the thought process that went into it. We did get these blinds in Hatfield recently, where I worked previously, and you know they are helpful for the heat and cool retention as
Right,
well.
right.
So, and we actually, I would say that we had our board books under the windows at the far end of the children's space, and they're definitely getting weathered from just the sun on them. So that's, I moved them into the center of the room partially for that, but also to make the space work with fewer toys.
Right, yeah.
So that's a.
Is that so? Exposure.
Oh, don't ask me. I got it wrong last time.
All right, so that's east.
This is east.
Yeah, that's the only one I know, because Fred told us earlier. Yeah.
You know one, you know them all.
No, I only know that one. All right, well then that would be west.
Very good.
There you go, there's two. And then if I really, all right, so wait a minute. What, I'm going to tell you. All right, so east, west, I don't know. One of them is north and one of them is south. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, okay.
I'll teach you my trick.
Next we could do left and right.
Yeah, right. That was really hard.
So this library has always had a very active volunteer community, sometimes as many as 30 volunteers, which is fabulous. With COVID, that has affected sort of the rhythm of that. The library also would rely on volunteers for circulation coverage, which we deemed was not appropriate. You know, they're not doing any of the patron privacy things that you have to get certified every couple of years for patron, like they're not doing any of that stuff. So we deemed that wasn't appropriate anymore. But that being said, they've done incredible stuff. They help us with shelving, they help us with reorganizing stuff, they help us with book donations, they help us with fun, you know, the friends do all these fundraisers, programming things they can help put together. So it's a huge asset. But there is a bit of a shift now as we're readjusting what that means. Are we good? Okay. So I'm going to invite you, to those who haven't, to feel free to come back here, take a look around in the spaces you haven't seen before, and I'll just hang out here, and if there's more questions, we can keep talking.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
okay. Okay.
I agree with you, Marianne, that the coziness of this
Yeah,
library
yes,
is really something
yeah,
to,
yes,
you know,
yeah,
is,
yes.
it's a big plus.
It is,
And it's
yeah.
also the scale of towns.
Yes,
Pretty big difference in population.
yes, yeah,
To this
yeah.
job is making sure that folks come in on a regular enough
Okay.
schedule, so we have
There are a
people
bunch of
on a
them.
very regular.
Yeah. Okay.
And I thought
I want to make sure Nate gets a good picture of this, because we get a lot of people asking us, Nate, you wouldn't believe how many people ask me, can I put my brochure here? Can I put my magazine here? Can I put my bookmark here? And before COVID, we had a tiny little space that was smaller than this. And we had our free magazine basket. And then we put the plexiglass up, and we couldn't have our thing where it was because it doesn't work there anymore. We had to have room for plexiglass. And then I got rid of the magazine basket because, well, nobody was coming in, and people would be rifling through it and touching things, and we didn't know about surfaces in COVID. And then the library is just so cluttered and crowded. I'm not adding that back in until COVID is over. And so I'm not taking brochures and bookmarks and free magazines and look at this beautiful like community information space. We do have a bulletin board outside, but you know, when things like this, sometimes people will tack like things onto the bulletin board and then they go flying all over the place, and then I spend time picking trash up outside. So anyway, I love that, and I miss having that in our library, even though we've never really had it in our library, and the community misses that opportunity too. Just such a small, simple little thing,
Well, I've
So.
seen the signs for like 12-year-olds who are newly certified in babysitting.
Right.
Putting up their little flyer.
Yes, yes. And I mean, people can put a flyer up, it's just.
But it is outside.
Right, yes, it is outside, yeah. So, and a good windstorm
Yeah.
blows all of those away too, yes, yeah, so, yeah. And then it's just one more thing, like cleaning up after those windstorms is one more thing to do, so, anyway.
Not in the job description.
No. Well, other duties as assigned, yes, okay, yes, okay. Yes, yeah, so, okay.
I love the colors in here.
I love the colors, I love the light, the light at the end of both wings just makes it feel spacious. And then this, it's almost a 20-year-old library, and I don't feel like Leverett has outgrown it. It feels really well used. But it even feels like there's a little bit of room on the shelves. I mean, if you saw my shelves, would you have seen my? Yeah. And so it's there's room for to keep adding to the collection. And of course that's something, there's always in and out, but yes.
Just look at this,
Yeah.
Mary, just this.
Yes, there's a puzzle.
There's
Yes.
a puzzle.
Yes, there's a place to sit, and
So
yeah.
usually we would
Yeah.
have this table over here set up with a really big puzzle and chairs on both sides of it. We kind of were not encouraging people to hang
Right.
out over a table for long periods of time.
Right,
together.
yeah.
So that's why that became a
Yeah.
display table.
Uh-huh,
But
yeah.
someone did pull out a little puzzle the other day, and this feels like there's a little more space for
Yeah.
folks. And I'm mostly just seeing one person at a time.
Right, yes, yeah.
You'd mentioned the lack of flexibility in some of these spaces. Do you feel that way in the main spaces as well? The fact that the bookcases are up against the wall as they are and not movable?
So far, no. I think the only thing about the bookcases that are a little odd is at the far end, there's a tiny little end cap that, the book's way on the bottom. Like, it's just an awkward place to get to. So our hope is we need to continue a weeding process to keep the shelves really current with the books that people are checking out, and that will alleviate some of that pressure. But mostly, I think the main thing, again, is that lack of larger storage space. We have all this furniture you see is like, that's it, there's nowhere else to put it. So here, the display book table had this big chair in front of it. There was 2 chairs in front of it. I'm like, that doesn't work. So it's just like, every library is a little bit of a puzzle. And I would say that's the main thing here. But otherwise, I feel actually like having the bookshelves on the sides and that big open space gives some flexibility, way more than the areas back here.
And it allows for,
Beautiful patio space you have out there. Who maintains the plantings?
So the Friends of the Public Library, they pay for Dawn Ward to maintain the plantings. She volunteers for a lot of that kind of stuff around here, but they pay her for her services for this.
Nice.
She does a great job. We're really lucky.
the thing about the bookcases being, the shelves being the way they are, it allows for light between the shelves, which I think is really, I mean, if you have any difficulty at all in seeing things, having that kind of light, not just the overhead light, but also the light from outside is a big plus.
That's a good point.
It is.
So that's a pro of the light. A con is, like we said, with the board books starting to fade, and also the books by the exit door over here get a lot of sun.
True, yeah.
Right, right.
I mean, is that the
So it
worst
happens.
thing?
You don't have,
Yeah.
do you know if the windows have like UV?
I don't think
Down
so.
on
Yeah, these are all, that,
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
And we would get that, you can get that built in
Which
too.
is way
It's-
better
Yeah,
than
right,
you
right,
don't see any
yes.
bubbles and stuff like that.
Right.
It doesn't peel off.
Right, right. You know, it's part of the glass now.
It really helps with the
Yes,
longevity of the
yes,
collection. I mean,
right.
a lot of your collection isn't gonna be longevity.
Right, right,
Right.
yes,
But some things are
yeah,
classics.
yeah,
right,
definitely.
right. Yeah,
And any of the artwork and all of that too.
Right.
right, right.
Did you talk about the patio before I got here?
I didn't. There's just the one question about who maintains the plantings.
I was just curious about like, well, and again, this is like, how much use do you see of it? And
Oh,
probably
so we did
can't-
talk a little bit about that, that there's a very popular summer series of musical performances on Thursday evenings
Nice.
that I understand often got moved into the community room because of mosquitoes.
Ooh, yeah.
So, and I was saying that it can be very hot on that patio. So we've had friends meetings out there and things like that where it's just very hot.
Because that is south, I think.
No, that's
we
east. We
determined
decided.
This is east. Yeah, that's what I said first.
But
so.
the patio's over here, isn't it?
So these are the big questions. Which direction is which? And what is the actual square footage?
Yeah,
These
those
are,
are big
okay.
questions.
There's the big questions at the Leverett Library. Okay, all right, okay, and, okay. So, okay.
I just assumed this was oriented the same way as my house, and it clearly is not.
Right,
So.
okay.
I like the flexibleness that you have here and that you could potentially get like another short shelving, like on casters or something. If
Right.
you needed more shelving in really either of these.
Right, you could redesign the middle space. It's wide enough to redesign it as needs change over time.
Does the boardbook thing or the whatever that load, is that on casters or?
It is, yeah, so it was under the windows when we moved the train table out. It wasn't being fully utilized, so I moved it out there. Now you can see it on sides, used away from the windows. You can display books underneath, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes?
I really like the way you said that all the middle stuff can be moved out where somebody can speak with the podium. You can
Yeah.
have a much larger group
Yeah.
than just in the community room.
Correct.
And you wouldn't feel cramped in.
No.
Yeah, it worked really well for the legislative breakfast. We had a
It
big
did.
house here.
That's right.
Yeah.
How many? Do you have any guests?
I've been here for 2 of those. I would say 80 to 100. But it's, and it's really great for a special occasion like that, but it does mean a day of work to prepare the place, and then, or a very large work crew, and then to put it back. So,
Absolutely.
yes, yeah. So, okay, well, thank you. Thank you for you were so welcoming, she's just started, and instead of calling to offer a welcome and an assistance.
Well, you did
Right.
do that,
Did I?
too.
Did I? Oh, good. All right, thank goodness.
Yes.
Because, sometimes I forget to be polite when when I have a task, but,
this is so exciting.
Okay, all righty. So, okay, all right, so thank you so much for welcoming us. Okay, it was so nice to meet you. Okay.